Step quietly into a world where the land ruled and you were but a shadow within its soil. Picture the life of a medieval peasant. Feet caked in mud, hands calloused from dawn till dusk. Bound by oaths not freely given, each life intertwined with the whims of distant lords and the relentless cycle of seasons. Yet through it all, there was resilience, flickers of joy amidst the toil. Festivals broke the strain, while shared laughter echoed during communal harvests. Today we pull back the layers dirt and grit, unveiling the truth of peasant life. Bleak, yes, but surprisingly rich in humanity. Welcome to a tale not of despair, but of enduring spirit. Picture this. The chill of dawn seeps through your thin, mud-plastered walls, and the crow of the rooster beckons you to a day not ruled by your own whims, but by the very soil beneath you and the Lord who claims it. In this world, the landscape is your life's stage, each day scripted by the circumstances you've inherited. Welcome to the life of a serf in the medieval era, where survival was an art mastered through enduring the routine confines of feudal existence. Serfs were the anonymous authors of the fields, living lives tightly woven into the fabric of the land they eternally served. Bound by obligations as intricate as the finest tapestry, their freedom was not in motion or choice, but in duty tethered to the approval of the Lord. No action, be it in marriage or the simple planting of seeds, could unfold without the Lord's approval. Documents like the Domesday Book recorded these feudal chains, capturing a world where your identity was both a blessing and a burden. Each serf, while oppressed under the system, played a vital role, silently driving the prosperity of the feudal economy forward. Beneath the watchful gaze of the manor's towering presence, serfs laboured tirelessly within a system that resembled a patchwork quilt, a vivid, geographical mosaic of farmlands and villages. The manor, at the centre, controlled not just financial flow, but the pulse of life itself. Serfs gathered frequently, fingers coarse from ploughing, muscles taut from threshing, ever ready to cater to the demands of the manor's insatiable appetite. This complex web of roles ensured that while the nobility sat enthroned, the serfs' ceaseless toil was the fuel for a booming agricultural economy. Perhaps what endures most vividly are the archives of handwritten manorial rolls and feudal law codes, repositories of forgotten lives. These yellowed pages capture transactions and taxes paid in sweat and produce, a testament to human tenacity and the inherent exploitation of the feudal system. Through these records, one glimpses a world where every action, from sowing seeds to burying disputes, bore the heavy imprint of servitude. Within this rigid framework existed the silent dance of social norms, guiding serfs through a maze of fealty and reciprocal obligation. While the nobility wielded vast power, it was within communities that serfs found authentic identity and purpose. Generational wisdom and tales buoyed spirits, stitching together a tapestry of shared labour, rituals, and survival. Though the Lord dictated broad life strokes, the daily rhythm beat strongest in these communal hearts, where day-to-day endurance intertwined with tradition. In a world where liberty was a distant echo, serfdom held one tightly in its grasp. Every move, a shadowed glance towards freedom, watched over by the Lord's unwavering stare. Even the heart's matters, marriage, were negotiations within a system where breath, life, and love depended on acceptance from above. Here, simple unions transcended affection, becoming strategic alignments that ran ribbons of connection between families and landlords, perpetually binding serfs to their soil and service. Amidst all this, serfs lived in a peculiar paradox of possession. They wielded tools and tended plots, yet never owned the earth beneath their toil, a dichotomy underscored by the manorial system's rigid inequities. This life of implied dominion, even without genuine ownership, required resilience. It demanded a serf's flexibility to wring identity and worth from the very directives that confined them. Here they dwelled, bearers of both the raw material of labour and the untidy acceptance of inequity. It was life pared down to necessity, grounded in endurance. Ultimately, to recount the life of a serf is to unravel threads of a tapestry suffused with paradox, bleak hardship balanced by silent acceptance and contribution to the medieval social order. The legacy of serfdom stands as more than just ancient edicts etched in old tomes. It echoes through fields where ancestors once laboured. This glimpse into the life beneath feudal crowns reaffirms our understanding of freedom, labour, and the poignant struggle of those whose hands tilled the foundations of history, asking today's minds to reflect on the profound stories behind those who truly cultivated the earth. As the first light of dawn whispered across the medieval village, the day began for peasants not with choice, but with necessity. The rooster's crow served as an unyielding alarm, a call to duty echoing through the air, reminding the villagers of their obligations to both land and lord. Rising from straw-filled pallets, their bodies still wrapped in the remnants of sleep, each peasant emerged ready to face another day's demands. This awakening was more than just the start of labour. It was a ceaseless cycle, a testament to resilience, unfolding under the watchful gaze of the rising sun. The landscape of their world was a patchwork quilt of fields, each plot a testament to the unrelenting toil of its inhabitants. Sowing, reaping, ploughing. Each task a chapter in an ongoing saga of survival played out in the theatre of nature. Spring called for attentive nurturing of seedlings, while autumn demanded the Herculean task of reaping the harvest before nature's unpredictable hand could undo months of labour. Even in harsh conditions, there was an unspoken connection to the land, a bond born from the rhythmic dance of toil and patience. Each furrow turned, and each seed planted was an act of faith in both nature's promise and communal strength. This work, relentless and cyclical, was not just back-breaking, it was a shared anchor of hope and determination. Yet the labour didn't solely belong to fields destined for personal or familial sustenance. Ingrained in the feudal structure lay corvée labour, a burdensome tribute paid in sweat to the ruling lord. Documented with stark clarity in manorial roles, this obligation transformed efforts from personal to imposed, where a peasant's autonomy gave way to a lord's decree. The heavy burden of corvée labour often left personal plots neglected, as the demands of servitude took precedent. In this shared struggle, however, emerged an unexpected camaraderie, a collective endurance against the weight of unending duty binding peasants to one another in reluctant unity. Amongst this demanding toil, Sunday emerged as a cherished intermission. With the church's influence providing respite, the community embraced this reprieve from labour's relentless grip. Villagers donned their best for communal services, where the solemn tones of prayer and hymn offered both spiritual succour and a momentary erasure of social hierarchies. Within this sacred pause, the harsh symphony of work subsided, replaced by a melody of community and rest. Sundays allowed peasants to reconnect, not just with faith, but with family and friends, fostering a rare sense of leisure amid their often overwhelming duties. Besides Sundays, feast days punctuated the medieval calendar with vibrant punctuation, providing blessed breaks from drudgery. These occasions infused life with a shared exuberance, turning the practical into the divine through shared meals, music and merriment. Religious feasts celebrated both faith and community, providing moments where rich and poor together could revel, even if only fleetingly, in bounty and joy. Laughter and medieval melodies filled the air, bringing a respite as much spiritual as it was physical, a temporary retreat into celebration beyond daily struggle. Within this narrative of toil, one cannot overlook the hidden heroines, women whose labour bridged home and field. Often excluded from the annals of history, women's contributions were both extensive and essential. They were the unseen backbone, blending nurturing with diligent labour, painting a portrait of resilience seldom highlighted in traditional manuscripts. From animal husbandry to managing gardens, these women were vital threads in the social tapestry, their lives a testament to adaptability and shared struggle. Youth, too, found their roles amidst the fields, learning through play and practice to contribute from early ages. Childhood here was no sheltered oasis, but a preparatory school of labour under open skies. Herding, weeding, and helping with harvest became tasks woven into the fabric of their upbringing. As young hands learned to mimic elders, they absorbed the rhythms of toil and resilience, ensuring the continuity of tradition and survival skills essential for adulthood. The ever-changing seasons scripted timelines for toil, dictating tasks and shaping peasant life. Spring called for planting with hopeful anticipation. Summer demanded vigilance against the elements. Autumn tested strength with the rush of harvest. Winter, though offering reprieve, merely shifted focus indoors, where tools were mended and preparations for the next cycle began anew. This relentless march of time dictated survival, each season a chapter in the ongoing story of endurance. The reality of such labour is documented not just in dusty tomes, like Walter of Henley's Husbandry, but in the very lives etched into the soil beneath weathered feet. These records reveal a tapestry of obligation and sustenance, a vivid picture of a relentless existence shaped by nature's clock. Each tool held by a calloused hand became an extension of body and identity, each a simple yet profound testament to innovation, born from necessity. Through labour, medieval peasants carved out their existence, enduring and adaptable, forever at the mercy of and in harmony with the land's silent song. In the medieval world, peasants moved to the music of nature's rhythm, each season dictating their deeds and shaping their days. As winter's icy breath faded and spring's gentle warmth kissed the land, peasants embraced the renewal of life. The fields, freshly tilled and sown with hope, awaited the blessing of the heavens for a bountiful harvest. Though a relentless dance of dawn to dusk labour awaited in the coming months, winter offered a pause, a time for mending tools by the flickering hearth and spinning tales to children. These quieter times balanced the fervour of summer, when the sun stretched shadows long and demanded every waking hour be spent under its gaze, tending to the needs of the fields. Autumn harvests arrived with a heartbeat quickened by urgency, as every hand, young and old, scrambled to gather the earth's bounty, racing against time to stave off winter's scarcity. In this cycle of sow and reap, there lay a rough-hewn calendar, one that dictated not just work but moments of rest and communal joy amidst the grind. It was neither idyllic joy nor sheer exhaustion, but a complex blend of necessity and custom that crafted the peasant's year. Life wasn't all toil. The calendar, dotted with festivals and feast days, offered moments of relief. a break in the relentless work to gather in joy and laughter. The village's heartbeat changed on such days. Church bells not only summoned the faithful, but signalled brief reprieves, where even the sternest of lords might share a wooden cup of ale with those he ruled over. Feast days intertwined with religious and forgotten pagan rituals, where days like Easter or Christmas brought a shared respite steeped in song, dance, and the aroma of foods reserved for such special occasions. These festivals form the threads of unity, softening societal divides and allowing the community a collective breath in shared celebration. Equally vital were market days. On these bustling mornings, a quiet village transformed into a hive of activity. Stalls brimmed with colour and sound, vendors crying out to passers-by, the air rich with the aroma of sizzling meats and sweet treats, while laughter intertwined with the more serious tones of barter and trade. Here peasants sold their carefully grown produce, sought essentials, and exchanged goods for what they could not make themselves. More than commerce, these gatherings were lifelines of social exchange, a chance to hear tales from afar, catch whispers of news, and feel connected in the vast world beyond the village borders. Alone, life was a relentless plod through labour, but together these exchanges stitched peasant lives into a larger tapestry. Communal meals held a special significance too, extending beyond the nourishment to fortify more than just bodies. In a world often defined by scarcity, these meals, brought together from the contributions of many, offered a richer spread than any one family could muster alone. Around fires and tables, these gatherings allowed neighbours to share burdens and boons alike, their laughter and stories mingling with the sense of shared dishes, crafting not just a meal but a stronger sense of belonging. In these moments, the rigid lines of hierarchy blurred, and the essence of simple, profound humanity emerged. A reminder of survival, not as solitary strife but as a collective endeavour. Peasant life was interwoven with traditions and superstitions, each story and custom a soothing balm against the unpredictable fates. Rituals for a good harvest or a healthy home imbued the mundane with meaning. Planting under the new moon or warding off spirits with charms over doorways might sound peculiar today, yet these gave peasants a semblance of control, a narrative that made sense of their world. Economically, peasants lived in a web where barter and reciprocity outweighed coin, where favours exchanged were binding more than trade. This system was a dance of goods for services, fostering deep networks of interdependence and trust. It wasn't just about survival, it was about community, about knowing that when the world turned harsh, you were not alone. Women were pivotal in this world, their roles as keepers of homes, gatherers of lore, and sometimes healers a quiet yet profound testament to their importance. Their labour inside and outside the home formed the backbone of peasant survival, though often unheralded in the annals of male-dominated records. Children too were immersed early in this rhythm of survival. Childhood was no idyllic phase, but an apprenticeship to life. They learned through doing, their games a mimicry and preparation for the roles they would assume as they grew, finding space for play amid duties, their laughter adding sweetness to life's often bitter reality. Religion, meanwhile, was an anchor, a core that infused daily life with divine structure and purpose. The village church was at once a spiritual haven and a social centre, uniting the community under its sacred canopy. Here, rituals performed from baptisms to burials were both personal and communal rites, reinforcing a shared path through life's trials. In the face of unyielding hardships, it was the peasants' ability to adapt while maintaining these social bonds that ensured survival. They crafted lives of remarkable resilience, finding ways to endure through solidarity, innovation, and a collective courage that defied the harshest of circumstances. Their narrative is one not of unending plight, but of an enduring spirit, one that has much to teach in grace and perseverance. In the medieval countryside, the landscape was a paradoxical blend of beauty and cruelty. Peasant homes constructed from the very earth beneath their feet stood resilient against the elements. These humble abodes were crafted using the wattle and daub technique, a practical amalgam of woven wooden strips coated in a sticky mixture. This method, utilising mud, straw and timber, transformed simple structures into sanctuaries against bitter winds and unyielding rain. Every step in this painstaking construction was underpinned by necessity, as these mud and thatch dwellings were vital refuges in a harsh world. Externally modest, these homes were lively and full of character, fostering a deep sense of community. The collective effort involved in building and maintaining these homes reinforced societal bonds, as villagers pooled their knowledge of the land and shared the labour. Frequent repairs and improvements weren't mere chores, but communal events akin to harvest festivals, weaving villagers into the fabric of their shared existence. Season after season, these homes became repositories of family stories, reflecting the perseverance of those who lived there and their connection to nature's bounty. Inside these homes, practicality reigned supreme. The interiors were designed to meet the daily needs of their inhabitants, every corner speaking to a life steeped in function. Wooden supports stained by smoke from the central hearth framed the space, a hearth that served as the vital core for warmth and cooking. The air was thick with smoke from burning peat and wood, creating an atmosphere that was simultaneously welcoming and utilitarian. Sparse furnishings, benches and tables crafted with care, were prized for their durability, while doubling as settings for family gatherings. These interiors were the heart of peasant life, where family histories intertwined with day-to-day activities. In these homes, shared spaces were more a necessity than an option, accommodating both families and livestock. This symbiotic relationship was essential for survival. Animals provided labour and resources, while humans offered shelter in return. During harsh winters, the presence of animals like goats and chickens provided much-needed warmth. However, cohabiting with livestock also brought challenges, such as the risk of disease, a delicate balance between survival and hygiene dictated by economic needs. At the centre of these homes, women played a crucial role, orchestrating the rhythm of domestic life through endless cycles of work. Their efforts transformed austere shelters into spaces of warmth and care, as they ground grain, baked bread, and tended gardens. Women were not only managers of the household, but also teachers, passing down essential skills to their children, while taking part in communal labour. Their labour was the unseen force that turned basic necessities into traditions, essential threads of the family and community fabric. Children too learned life's lessons under these humble roofs. From their earliest days, they participated in the rhythms of sowing and harvesting, turning simple play into preparation for adult duties. The home environment encouraged ingenuity and self-reliance, with even mundane objects becoming tools for learning. Sticks transformed into shepherd's crooks in playful mimicry of adult tasks, blending innocence with responsibility. Life in a peasant home was intricately linked with the seasons, each bringing unique challenges and demands. Winter was a time of huddling for warmth, calling for creativity in maximising limited resources. The clever sewing of worn garments or the thoughtful use of stored supplies were strategic adaptations passed down through generations. Summer, on the other hand, turned homes into vibrant preservation hubs, where the timely drying of herbs or pickling of vegetables prepared families for leaner months. Health, too, found its foundation in these homes, merging tradition with limited medical understanding. Without modern medicine, reliance on home remedies and folk wisdom was paramount. The hearth played a dual role, purposed as a site for both physical warmth and the crafting of tinctures from roots and herbs. Here, age-old beliefs mingled with practical solutions, as prevention became a priority in the face of scarce healthcare options. Material possessions, while limited, spoke volumes about peasant life, each artifact a testament to necessity and resourcefulness. Few but telling, these items included wooden eating utensils, agricultural tools, and carefully patched clothing. Such possessions emphasize function over frills, embodying the endurance of those who used them. Small handcrafted details imbued these items with personal narratives, adding touches of beauty to the utilitarian. Though private sanctuaries, peasant homes were far from isolated from the social web of village life. The doors to these dwellings welcomed neighbours and travellers alike, making hospitality an unwritten rule of survival. Visitors were conduits of news and trade, energising the rural monotony. These exchanges reinforced community ties, ensuring that survival was a communal effort, fostered over shared stories and meals. Despite their transient physical nature, the legacy of these homes, built from mud and hope, endures. Archaeological remains offer glimpses into lives shaped by endurance, their presence echoing through artefacts and stories. These dwellings were more than mud and timber. They were vibrant stages of human resilience, survival, and the quest for a meaningful life forged from the simplest of resources. Picture a bustling medieval village as the sun rises and shadows stretch across fields. Enter the life of a peasant. Sustenance was a delicate dance between availability, ingenuity, and survival. The heart and hearth of their diet was a meal called pottage, a thick, bubbling stew simmered lovingly over a communal fire. A humble concoction of grains, vegetables, and sometimes a precious bit of meat. It was the foundation of their daily nutrition. This culinary mainstay was as much a ritual as a recipe, seasoned with whatever the land or forest could provide, such as leeks, cabbage, or an occasional wild herb. Meat, a luxury afforded only during celebrations or as scraps from the Lord's table, transformed this pot of sustenance into a rare delicacy. Bread, crafted from hardy grains like barley and rye, served not just as accompaniment, but as utensil and sustenance alike, rarely wasting a crumb. Amidst the routine of such meals, peasants unexpectedly nurtured a surprisingly balanced diet. Although protein was scarce, the simple combination of grains and legumes, harvested and prepared with care, offered an essential balance of nutrients. Examination of medieval bones whispers tales of resilience, revealing that despite its monotony, this diet provided peasants with more than mere survival. Yet the quality and quantity of these meals ebbed and flowed with the seasons. Bountiful years filled their bellies, whereas leaner times demanded resourcefulness. Communal living's ethos thrived during scarcity, where sharing was not just kind but essential, weaving a network of support through the village like tightly knit yarn. Beyond filling their bellies with food, peasants quenched their thirst with a vital elixir: ale. More than a mere beverage, ale was a lifeline. In a world where water was suspect due to contamination, This fermented drink stood as a guardian of health. Tangy and mild, it delivered warmth, calories, and carbohydrates, marking the day's rhythm from sunup to sundown. Each household brewed its own, with women, known as brewsters, mastering this tradable craft. In this age of uncertainty, alehouses buzzed with life, serving as village hubs where deals were struck, tales were spun, and community was made. However, abundance relied heavily on the fortunes of nature. Slimmer harvests forced peasants to dilute their brews, but not their spirits. The peasant's bond with the land was cyclical, influenced by the whims of nature. During times of generous harvest, villages pulsed with activity and anticipation. Feasts broke the monotony with salted meats, fresh loaves, and even sweeter ales. These occasions represented a time of temporary reprieve and celebration. Conversely, scant harvests shadowed hearts with worry. With supplies dwindling, the grip of hunger tightened, turning villages into battlegrounds of resilience and solidarity. Skills in foraging became not just survival tactics, but a craft. Families combed hedgerows and forests for wild edibles, transforming nature's generosity into salvation. This knowledge, passed from parent to child, bore testament not only to survival, but to the intricate tapestry connecting peasants to their land. Amid the challenges of the land, livestock stood as both a blessing and a burden. Each animal, whether chicken, pig, or goat, was a dual-purpose provider of nourishment and economic security. Milk, cheese, and eggs complemented their otherwise starchy diet, adding vital proteins and fats. Despite this, the role of livestock was steeped in pragmatism. Preserving future wealth meant that the sacrifice of animals was rare and profound, aligning with the community's cycles of celebration and faith. Famine, a spectre always lurking at the edges of medieval life, cast deep shadows when it struck. A failed harvest could unravel the delicate balance of peasant life, igniting desperation that could lead to unimaginable actions. Yet through shared burdens and communal resilience, peasants revealed a spirit unyielding even in the face of adversity. Church efforts, while not meeting every need, fortified both body and spirit, with shared grain and communal prayers serving as hopeful reminders of faith. The struggle against famine was a canvas on which their endurance and solidarity were vividly painted. In the end, the mealtimes of these medieval souls wove a tapestry beyond just survival. Meals set the rhythm of life, punctuating work with rest, defining seasons with celebrations, and embedding purpose through feasts and fasts. Above all, food embodied a social glue, nurturing relationships within the village as deeply as the body. Each humble portion of bread, each hearty ladle of pottage, tugged at threads connecting generations, echoing the shared labour and sustenance of kinship. Despite grinding hardships, peasant life teaches us not just about survival, but the complex dance of endurance and adaptability. It whispers of a tenacity that, while nourished by the land, was truly fueled by the boundless spirit of community and resilience. In the medieval world, life was a precarious endeavour right from the start. The chilling reality was that 1 in 3 children wouldn't live past the age of 5. It was a time when birth itself felt like a gamble with fate, both for mothers and their delicate newborns. Midwives, these wise women drawn from their communities, stepped in with a unique blend of folk wisdom and early medical know-how, fighting against the odds to ensure safe deliveries. Yet, in an age where hygiene was poorly understood, even their best efforts fell short against the relentless spread of infections that today seem trivial, but then proved deadly. Infant mortality was so common, it was woven into the village's tapestry, marked by tiny graves dotting churchyards and records that bore the weight of countless short-lived lives. This constant loss shaped a society that saw birth and death as deeply intertwined, prompting a mix of rituals meant to shield the young from unseen dangers. Parents often delayed baptizing their children, hoping they'd survive the fragile early years, and turned to talismans to ward off evil forces, tightly holding onto both hope and ancient superstitions as shields against the dark. Childbirth loomed as a dramatic affair for women, casting a long shadow of danger over their lives. Complications during delivery, such as infections or severe bleeding, amplified by non-existent antiseptic measures, made motherhood a perilous undertaking. A chorus of female voices, relatives, neighbours, and the steadfast midwife surrounded the birthing mother, forming a support network both essential and emblematic of the shared danger they faced. Childbearing was not just about bringing new life, but also surviving to tell the tale, a test of endurance deeply woven into the essence of womanhood and underscored by both reverence and dread. In this landscape, spiritual beliefs and earthy practicality formed an inseparable partnership. Women were revered for their role as life-givers, but also regarded with a certain trepidation as they stood constantly at fate's threshold. Religion offered comfort, wrapping childbirth in a tapestry of prayers and invocations to saints tendered for heavenly guidance through these dangerous rites. These rituals reveal a medieval mindset that constantly sought divine intervention amidst the tumult of childbirth, blurring the lines between daily life and the divine, as mothers called upon the heavens for safe passage through this perilous journey. Disease lurking everywhere was an ever-present threat, descending unpredictably with the swiftness of a thief in the night. From smallpox to the notorious Black Death, these maladies cut swathes through peasant villages, leaving devastation in their wake. The era's meagre understanding meant illness was often attributed to malevolent spirits or the whims of angry deities, leaving terrified villagers to balance their fears between the corporeal and the mystical. Despite ignorance, the people coped through a patchwork of medicinal herbs, crafted by the hands of herbalists and local healers, who peppered their remedies with incantations to bolster both body and spirit. Life in tight-knit communities presented both a refuge and a conduit for spreading sickness. These villages turned to prayer and superstitious rituals, desperately seeking divine permutations through herbal concoctions meant to turn the tides of fate. With few physicians and limited knowledge, resilience became a requisite skill, a common theme highlighted in both ecclesiastical and secular accounts, which illustrates how these tenacious souls blurred the lines between empirical remedies and mystical hope just to navigate each day. Death, always a breath away, shaped a cultural understanding that went beyond mere survival. It birthed elaborate rites to ensure the safe transition of souls to the afterlife, anchored in both community prayers and folk customs. Tolling bells marked departures, weaving together the living and the dead in sombre processions that assured continuity even in absence. The dead were not severed from the living. Instead, they were an intrinsic part of an intimate cycle. Their spirits assuaged with rituals and offerings designed to smooth the path to whatever lay beyond. Diet, a silent yet formidable guardian, played its part in this medieval narrative of the survival. While feast days and bountiful harvests brought periodic relief, lean years spelled malnutrition, leaving the peasantry vulnerable to myriad diseases. Their meal tables were dominated by hardy rye bread, nourishing pottage, and ale. A modest diet bolstered by the hard graft of daily labour and occasionally augmented by precious protein. Lean times restricted their physical and economic horizons, underscoring the weight of survival on meagre resources. Yet even amidst this uncertainty, communities found ways to persevere, adapting to the whims of nature with preservation methods and communal sharing during times of famine. Famine's spectre loomed large in parish registers, chronicling grim times. Yet the villagers' shared ingenuity in cultivating sustainability bore testament to their tenacity. Their lives were undeniably harsh, mirroring nature's caprice, yet they were driven by the enduring rhythm of life and death, which they embraced not as defeat, but as a testament to the indomitable human spirit. In a world defined by hardship, death's constant presence prompted a reflective relationship with mortality that permeated medieval life and art, manifesting in both solemn and cheeky artistic motifs like the danse macabre. Here, death was a subject to be confronted head-on, a curiously unflinching narrative thread that wove wistfulness with humour amidst the darkness, as storytellers and artists grappled with its enigmatic inevitability. Through these challenges, medieval society revealed a rare resilience, accepting mortality not merely as an ending, but as part of a shared journey bolstered by faith, community, and an ever-present awareness of life's precious brevity. This era's historical narratives, etched in church records and folk tales, captivate us still as a testament to human endurance, underscoring how people remained undaunted by adversity and found amid decay and despair the heartbeat of hope. Life as a medieval peasant was about more than just personal survival. It was a collective enterprise, deeply rooted in the support of the village network. Imagine a world where your closest company wasn't just your family but the entire village, living cheek by jowl in tightly knit communities. You relied on your neighbours not just for companionship, but for sustenance, security, and survival. Picture the village green, a bustling hub where life's social tapestry was woven daily. It was the place for festivals, markets, and shared ovens churning out bread. Think of it as a medieval market economy crossed with a social media feed of the day, a place where transactions and rumours alike flew through the air. The concept of communal living went beyond convenience. It was about necessity and mutual dependence. Helping with the harvest or pitching in on a neighbour's building project wasn't just an act of kindness, it was an expected duty. The boon work system often required peasants to provide free labour on a lord's land, especially when the grunt work was overwhelming. In return, you could count on the same collective effort when your fields needed tending or your roof needed mending. Doing so was less a social nicety and more survival insurance, ensuring no task was too hefty for one family alone. This cooperative existence fostered a shared identity, binding peasants together through their common struggles. The trials were many, from droughts to plague, and in a world where predictability was scarce, a neighbour's misfortune could ripple outward, affecting all. The village community thus became a safety net, pooling resources and sharing burdens like a medieval insurance policy, written in the language of obligation and support. It extended to emotional realms too. Grief, joy, despair, and celebration were shared openly among villagers. Funerals became communal rituals of mourning, where everyone gathered to lend both tears and comfort. Marriages and births also saw the village unite in joyous celebration, weaving stronger social bonds through shared merriment. Social contracts, although unspoken, were deeply respected among peasants. Marriages, for instance, weren't just personal unions. They were strategic alignments that consolidated resources and fortified ties between families. Informal gatherings offered these community-shaping occasions, much like modern negotiations over coffee or dinner. Peasants understood the significance of these bonds, knowing that threats to this social web could destabilize the entire community. Theft, betrayal, and dishonesty were not just personal offences but breaches of this communal contract, threatening their shared way of life. Yet, even within this tightly bound society, there was room for forgiveness, for empathy, won the day over rigid punishment, a survival tactic in itself for such interdependent existence. Rituals and traditions played a powerful role in binding these collective relationships, whether through the jubilant chaos of seasonal festivals or the solemnity of religious gatherings. These communal activities strengthened unity. Festivals tied to harvests or saints' feast days offered a reprieve from toil. They were celebrations of life itself in all its gritty glory, where villagers sang, danced, and feasted, temporarily setting aside daily drudgeries. These gatherings were opportunities for the village to conduct informal business, settle disputes, arrange alliances, and even engage in acts of merry mischief. Storytelling and oral traditions were the lifeblood of the medieval village, acting as both entertainment and education. Around flickering fires, tales of history and morality were passed down orally. These stories, sometimes cautionary, sometimes comical, were woven into the fabric of communal memory. The narratives, told in accents familiar and reassuring, became a part of everyone's identity, offering both a sense of belonging and a method of cultural continuity. Women, often unsung in the annals of history, were undoubtedly pivotal to this village network. They were the healers, using knowledge of herbs and remedies to combat ailments, a role fundamental to survival. Their domestic duties often blended into the community, as they helped orchestrate celebrations and religious observances, nurturing not just families, but entire social fabrics. Through these gatherings, women shared wisdom and skills across generations, acting as custodians of continuity and adapting to the ever-changing tides of medieval life. Essential as the heartbeat of these interactions were the fairs and markets, vibrant centres that transcended mere commerce. They offered glimpses into a broader world beyond the village, showcasing goods, tales, and even innovations brought by outsiders. Markets became arenas of interaction where social standing was tested and reinforced, and where villagers engaged in the time-honoured dance of trade and barter, echoing today's entrepreneurial hustles in pop-up markets and farmers' stalls. Finally, the village itself acted as a fortress. When threats emerged, from bandits to rival communities, villagers turned defenders. They trained in archery and stone throwing, fortifying boundaries and watching for danger. Life's challenges, whether human or natural, required a collective response. This necessity of defence strengthened trust, proving the value of standing together over standing alone. The medieval village was indeed a microcosm of community that transcends ages. Its intricate tapestry of relationships, obligations, and shared stories leaves a legacy that endures, reminding us of the incredible strength found in the unity of a tightly woven network. In the heart of the medieval village, justice unfolded swiftly under the open sky, a vivid tapestry of quick decisions and communal judgments. The manorial court, a cornerstone of rural governance, served as the stage for resolving grievances, rivalries, and offences that peppered daily life. Picture villagers in varied homespun garments gathered around, the murmur of their voices woven with the wind as they listened intently to verdicts that could decide their fate. Here, under the watchful gaze of the lord or his steward, the proceedings were a public affair, ensuring transparency, though not always fairness. Decisions came down like a blacksmith's hammer, forged more by tradition and necessity than by any semblance of modern jurisprudence. Still, within this bustling medieval community, a peculiar sort of order prevailed. For the common peasant, access to the court provided a platform to air grievances, an avenue both empowering and fraught with risk. The absence of formal legal representation left villagers reliant on their own wits and the very palpable reality of their situations. Crimes of survival dominated this landscape. Theft wasn't rebellion, but necessity. The punishment for pilfering a loaf of bread could range from penalty payments to enduring the shame of the stocks, where the crime was laid bare for all to see. Communal scorn was a deterrent potent enough to chill the blood, its echoes serving long after the stocks were empty. Meanwhile, the lords of the realm wielded their authority like double-edged swords. Some favoured iron-fisted decrees to deter dissent, while others opted for fairness, seeing just governance as a tool for building allegiance and harmony. The ironies here are thick. The same system designed to suppress could be wielded by clever peasants to challenge unfair taxes or wrongful accusations. Historical accounts reveal instances of defiance, of peasants standing firm against the tides of injustice, shaping a brief but crucial space for negotiation in a rigidly hierarchical society. At times, justice took on a decidedly more divine hue. Trials by ordeal stand out as the most dramatic expressions of medieval belief. Ordeals of fire or water that left innocence and guilt literally in the hands of fate. Here God's judgment was seen as final, a terrifying holy gamble where faith and fear mingled beneath the open sky. Yet as the years turned, the flames of the ordeal waned, replaced by practices rooted more in human discernment than divine whim, mirroring a slow shift from mysticism to early rationalism. Nonetheless, in the intertwined tapestry of feudal life, resistance simmered beneath the surface. Peasants were not mere subjects nor passive players. Resistance, when it came, was often a collective cry for justice. The Peasants' Revolt of 1381 epitomises these communal surges, a movement born not of chaos but of calculated desperation, seeking a world reshaped by the hands that toiled within it. Here, defiance echoed across the fields, a reminder that beneath the surface lay a relentless quest for fairness. Women too played their part in this shadowy theatre of justice, cloaked perhaps, but never entirely cut from the cloth of legal affairs. While patriarchal norms dictated their roles through familial ties, women emerged in records of legal proceedings, crafting spaces of agency in widowhood or stepping forth in defence of familial rights. Their footsteps in the courts, tentative yet persistent, reflect a nuanced reality where the law was both barrier and opportunity. Justice was a spectacle, sometimes brutal, always public. Punishment served as lessons etched into skin and memory, branding offenders in flesh and reputation. Yet, amidst this severity, there was room for wit. Festivals often blurred the lines between punishment and performance, villagers crafting satirical spectacles that unravelled justice into jest. In a communal release of tension, the village carved space for laughter amidst the gravest of deeds, For those willing to gamble against fate, outlawry whispered promises of forbidden freedom. Cast out from the protection of law, outlaws became legends. Figures like Robin Hood, who lived as much in song as danger, critiquing the system with each act of defiance. Others found a modicum of liberty in simple escape, feeling their way toward new beginnings far from the watchful eyes of manorial oversight, where justice was as much about evasion as obedience. The church played its hand in the balance of judgment, its dual role as both sanctuary and court. The ecclesiastical courts hovered on the edges of secular justice, blending penance with punishment, offering a softer touch, or so the ideal went. Their influence tempered some of the secular world's harshness, though not immune from its own moral contradictions and corruption. As the flames of justice flickered in the hearths of medieval memories, they cast reflections that ask questions of today. The past holds its eccentric lessons, not all as archaic as they first appear. In the medieval quest for balance and order lurk shadows of modern justice, where transparency, community engagement, and fairness are as vital now as they were amidst the rustic trials of old. In medieval times, the church was more than a Sunday sanctuary. It pulsated through daily life like a bustling town square. Church bells didn't just summon worshippers, they marked the rhythm of the peasants' labours, echoing across fields as they rose with the Angelus before dawn and ended their chores as dusk settled in. In an era where chaos lurked at every turn, this sacred structure lent order and assurance. Churches served as more than houses of prayer. They were vibrant community hubs where sermons linked the grueling struggles of the earthly realm to heavenly promises of solace and relief. Perhaps amidst the relentless toil, this hope of paradise was the light they chased. Religious feast days were a testament to the villagers' resilience and yearning for joy. They were not mere glimpses of piety, but bursts of lively celebration amidst the grind. Events like Easter and Christmas transform these moments into grand affairs, with colourful processions, dramatic plays, and bountiful feasts. Imagine market stalls brimming with rare spices and cured meats, gentle reminders of abundance. During these sacred breaks, villagers donned whatever finery they could muster, using faith as a springboard to both reconnect with their neighbours and revel in shared celebration. An escape from the drudgery they faced for much of the year. In this world saturated with faith, saints and relics fashioned intricate webs of belief. Peasants eyed these holy remnants not merely as sacred, they were tangible conduits between the mortal and the divine. They prayed to saints hoping for divine intervention in their everyday struggles, whether coaxing the rain for crops or easing an aching body. Pilgrimages to relics or the adorned sepulchre of a saint entwined acts of penance with fervent quests for miracles. Curative tales of saints performed wonders that inspired hope, fueling pilgrimages which, despite hardships, offered rare glimpses of other communities and cultures, broadening horizons beyond their village confines. More than an organised church, the religious teachings inspired vivid visions of morality, vividly painting heavenly delights and hellish torments on church walls, visible even to those unable to read. These murals, reflections of medieval faith, not only promised rewards and punishments in the afterlife, but shaped a code of conduct, urging villagers to lead virtuous lives. Within these narratives, purgatory existed as a flickering candle in the darkness. Not a place of despair, but a chance for redemption, highlighting the peasant's hope that even in moral failures, salvation flickered on the horizon. Rites of passage bore profound spiritual resonance, be it baptism welcoming a child into the Christian fold or marriage binding lives in sacred union. The Church sanctioned these milestones, shaping the journey from earthly toil to divine duty. Community participation reinforced shared faith and social obligations, with these rites defining moral expectations and family roles. Simple acts of confession and repentance punctuated medieval life, offering a cycle of redemption for peasants burdened by sin, a chance to reconcile with God and neighbour. Parish priests steered these spiritual journeys, lending guidance as mediators between divine will and human imperfection. In their humble settings, medieval peasants found comfort in death's rituals amid life's transience. The Church's role in these sombre ceremonies assured the departed journeyed with dignity. Amid tolling bells and earnest prayers, funerals offered a sacred send-off, transcending grief to affirm life's impermanence and the soul's eternal voyage. As candles flickered in recognition of mortality, these rites anchored a peasant's perception of impermanence, offering solace in the predictable symmetry of divine embrace. Though the Church's grasp reached far and wide, whispers of dissent were not uncommon. Faith sown deeply in village life could still sprout heretical doubt. Some peasants, questioning ecclesiastical dogma, sparked conflict against the Church's rigidity, challenging narratives that sought to uphold spiritual order. Yet, beneath this turbulence lay societal currents, revealing how deeply intertwined belief and governance were. Chronicles recount inquisitions, illustrating a battle not only for spiritual dominance, but preservation of societal stability. As guardians of knowledge, the clergy shepherded literacy through a largely unlettered world. Within monasteries, scribes painstakingly transcribed religious texts, safeguarding cultural heritage, practical wisdom, and nascent scientific thought. Parish priests often served as educators, dispensing rudimentary lessons in literacy while preserving records of village life, marriages, births, and deaths. The Church, even amidst its hierarchical constraints, remained a gateway to broader understanding, bridging the layman's world with realms of historical and spiritual insight. Even in a world constricted by social cords, this dissemination of knowledge empowered peasants to better navigate the tapestry of medieval life. In this intertwined existence, religion crafted narratives where life was more than survival. Pilgrimages steeped in sacred purpose marked profound expressions of faith. Peasants driven by desires for spiritual awakening trudged along paths to holy sites. These journeys, both arduous and enlightening, embodied resilience and religious fervour, promising inner transformation through divine encounters. As pilgrims trekked through foreign lands, they absorbed novel perspectives, fostering kinship with the divine and illuminating mundane existence with sacred wonder. Through these tales and experiences, religion imbued medieval life with structure and profound meaning, intertwining heaven's authority with earth's hardship in a cycle as relentless as time itself. In the shadowed embrace of history, medieval peasant life appears a blend of subjugation and resilience. Imagine a world where the very soil beneath your feet governs your every move, binding you as firmly as the Lord who claims dominion over you. Inherited by tradition and recorded in the Domesday Book, peasants navigated a rigid dance dictated by both earth and overlord, with permission needed to marry, move, or till an acre. Such constraints seem suffocating, yet within these bounds thrived a peculiar culture of solidarity and endurance. This society, seen from afar, whispers of stark limitations, but closer inspection reveals a woven tapestry of mutual reliance between peasants and their lords. While modern eyes might see power imbalance, medieval life glimmered with the rare moments where duty met protection and order. Even amid hard labour and societal binds, humour served as the lifeline of the soul. Laughter, rich and resonant as church bells, echoed through fields and hearths alike, offering refuge in shared stories and jest. Dark humour, befitting the era, highlighted their strength in adversity, a sly grin amid grim tasks. Tales of jesters, clever tricksters, and absurdities flowed through their lives, easing the furrows ploughed by toil and bringing an undeniable lightness amid shadow. Humour was the balm that mended frayed spirits, whether through public banter or private jests, poking fun at nobility's missteps or a bad harvest's woes. It was here that peasants bridged the gaps between personal hardship and communal unity in shared laughter. Across the calendar's pages, festivals and celebrations broke the relentless cycle of daily labour, creating moments where life sparkled despite the everyday. The seasons ushered in festivities with vibrant colours, twang of lutes, and communal meals that seemed to mend even the weariest of souls. Harvest festivals and saints' feasts, these were no mere distractions. They were the pulse of peasant life, driving away the monotony and forging social identity through games, music, and joyful abandon. These gatherings were more than a simple escape. They bridged social divides, albeit temporarily, and let peasants taste the sweetness of a united life. In these fleeting moments, hierarchy dissolved and barriers blurred as the poorest found their place in a tapestry of hope and belonging. Inextricably bound to the land, peasants demonstrated an ingenious adaptability born of necessity. They transformed hardships into innovation, crafting tools and gleaning sustenance from whatever resources available. Their agricultural acumen, captured in manuscripts like Walter of Henley's, showcases a delicate balance with nature's unpredictable whimsy. Beyond agriculture, resourcefulness extended to their communal existence. Barter systems and shared labour emerged as the life breath of survival, turning collective effort into an art of endurance, weaving a resilient social fabric despite meagre means. Spirituality, omnipresent, offered a compass in a capricious world. Religion, infused into their daily grind, assured peasants of a heavenly reprieve from earthly toil. Local parishes anchored communities, intertwining faith with daily life and offering hope amidst uncertainty. Through religious rituals and pilgrimages, peasants found unity in shared narratives and solace within sacred walls, bolstered by miracle tales and moral teachings. These were places not just of worship, but of sanctuary, where sorrow found an audience, and resilience echoed in communal prayers and festival gatherings. The essence of medieval survival lay in the threads binding village life, bonds forged in hardship, nurtured through mutual aid. Such reliance cultivated an enduring unity that transcended individual struggle, crafting an intricate web of support vital for subsistence. Whether through communal agreements or oral traditions, the village sat at the heart of peasant life, where relationships were both practical and emotional anchors. These connections, frequently tested, yet rarely broken, offered protection against the storms of famine and disease. Beyond kin, the village thrummed with a sense of belonging, each peasant part of a broader collective, making life's rigours tolerable. Yet within this harsh existence flourished a rich tradition of creativity, alive in song, storytelling, and craftwork. infusing day-to-day survival with artistry. Ballads and tales passed from mouth to ear across generations carried the spirit and wisdom of the people, sustaining them through darkness with humour and ingenuity. As much practical as expressive, crafted items bore the stamp of the human spirit upon the mundane, reflecting both necessity and pride in their meticulous detail. These forms of creative expression nurtured identity and heritage, enabling peasants to carve beauty from their demanding lives. Yet, despite nature's precariousness, peasants possessed an intimate understanding of their environment. Living attuned with nature's cycles, they practiced sustainable agriculture long before modern terminology existed, cultivating biodiversity and resilience. This legacy underpins the enduring peasant spirit, an ancestral wisdom seeking harmony amid chaos, fortified by environmental stewardship and respect. The medieval peasant saga embodies a paradox where hardship and beauty coexist, offering modern society lessons in community resilience and human ingenuity. Today, their enduring narrative inspires reflection and respect for a past that continues to echo in the present. Through chronicles of survival, peasants invite us to listen to their timeless stories, finding courage and creativity amidst today's uncertainties. As we journey through history, we discover they were people like us inhabiting a world both foreign and familiar. So if these tales of resilience and spirit resonate, share this with others and subscribe to explore more journeys through time.